The BJP has already signaled that it is in top gear when it comes to the assembly elections of Uttar Pradesh, and in what can be seen as a related development, even as the Prime Minister is getting ready for one of the showcase projects, the ground-laying ceremony, the groundbreaking ceremony of the Jewar Airport in Uttar Pradesh. Today, Rebel Congress MLA from Rai Bareli also joined the BJP. Aditi Singh is joining us live now. Aditi, why make this decision, especially when you represent a constituency in the Uttar Pradesh Assembly, which in the Lok Sabha is known as the bastion of the Gandhi family, from Rai Bareli? Why did you make the switch?
Padmaja, it's been a long time coming. I've been an MLA for a good 4.5, 5 years now. Worked very, very closely, with the Gandhis in Rai Bareli, with the party. I was a member of the Mahila Congress as well, worked there as well. And of course, I had some wonderful colleagues, and I wish them all the best. And I hope them the best in all their future endeavors, of course. But I think it was just time for me to take a different route, especially here in Uttar Pradesh. The party is what you'd call in a party paralysis completely. It's in total disarray, and I didn't see it going anywhere. A lot of very important issues that we bring up with the leadership or people close to the leadership wouldn't be addressed, and it just certainly was no way to work. And I think it reflected really clearly in the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, which was also contested under the leadership of Priyanka Gandhi ji. And I think it was just time for me to, take a different route.
So let me talk first about, do you see it as sort of a personal failure? Many will accuse you of backstabbing, given that it's not just about you as an individual. Your family has shared a very close equation with the Gandhi family, going right up to Indira Gandhi ji herself.
Absolutely, Padmaja. But keep in mind that my father was also very unceremoniously kicked out of this party at one point, which I think a lot of people don't remember or don't want to remember. But it's true, my father was, for false accusations. I'm not going to get into it now, that was decades ago. And then my father contested and won as an independent candidate every time from Rai Bareli Sadar. So it's not, it's not like I'm breaking some age-old tradition of always having been with this party or having had their loyalties. And I think it's so unfair when people like us, just because we're mere MLAs, are accused of backstabbing when I believe the real backstabbers are, the party leadership, who have also, of course, let us down. Why do you think anyone would leave? It's so easy to go ahead and call someone a backstabber. And I guess understandably so. But why would you just assume that those things didn't happen to me or anyone else leaving the party? Why do you think they were in the right and we were in the wrong and we just sought greener pastures and that's why we left? It's so unfair, to be blamed of that or for someone to believe that. Let me tell you, when I joined the party in 2016, it's not like it was in a much better shape. I joined the Congress party at a time when it was neither in the center nor in the state. I joined solely, with the idea of wanting to work for the party. So I think it's very, very unfair to call it backstabbing. Had I really backstabbed, I would have joined them at a time when they were at the heights of their power and, probably left when I left. But keep in mind that I joined at a time when they were also absolutely nowhere.
You have actually worked very closely with somebody who's taken over the reins of the party in Uttar Pradesh. I remember when in 2009 elections, we were traveling across Uttar Pradesh, especially for Lok Sabha elections, for Amethi, Rai Bareli. Mrs. Priyanka Gandhi was the one who used to be the face. You were almost always next to her. Then why is it when she is in charge of steering the Congress ahead of the assembly elections, you have decided to not repose faith in her leadership despite working so closely?
Perhaps because of my experiences over the last 5 years, there's no addressal to issues or problems, is how I would like to phrase it. You bring up issues with the top leadership, you bring up situations at hand, you bring up things happening in your constituency, and I think I was certainly one of the luckier few who still got a listening ear, but there was never any action taken. There was no action. There was no sort of sunwai, upri uspe. Even if they kind of heard you out, like, oh, okay, we'll do something about it. Like I said, it's complete, paralysis at the party level or at the Sangathan level.
No sunwai from whom? From Sonia ji, Rahul ji, or Priyanka ji?
It was affecting my constituency. It was affecting my constituents. I'm so sorry, could you repeat that, please?
But you say when there was a lack of sunwai, nobody gave you a patient hearing or actually did not come up with solutions. Who was this? Who in the leadership? Mrs. Gandhi, Mr. Gandhi, or Mrs. Gandhi Vadra?
I would say it was Mrs. Gandhi Vadra that I tried to speak with the most. And there was, like I said, there was just never any solution to anything that we would bring up. The result of that very clearly was, pardon me, visible in the 2019 Lok Sabha elections. I think that's clear for all of us to see.
Given that already the Congress had a very shocking defeat in Amethi, you know the mood of the ground in Raebareli. That is the other, showpiece constituency of the Gandhi family. Do you think there's a possibility that Raebareli could also throw up a shock in the years to come? What's the mood there?
Padmaja, I think for that you'll have to conduct a proper on-ground survey, but at least as far as I can speak, not just as an MLA but a citizen of Raebareli, I think people are really very fed up. And I think more than just even the Gandhis themselves, who I think a big issue is that they're just never in Raebareli, they're never around. But along with them, just even their representatives and their people and their pratinidhis are not very approachable. They're not very active. They're not very development oriented. So I think there's so many factors that play against them at this point. They still are carrying around like the same baggage, the same people that they've had for like decades now at this point. So there's no new blood, there's no excitement, there's no jazba, to work on the ground, to learn new things. And just petty party politics is just, eating up the party.
So as far as Mrs. Sonia Gandhi's Raebareli seat is concerned, could it be a case of out of sight, out of mind, and maybe in the next elections out of power?
Possibly. Time will tell. It's a very strong possibility though at this point, I would say, just from my experiences as an MLA or from what I hear and see, amongst my people.
It's interesting you decide to switch at a time when one of the main mottos of the Congress party is Ladki hoon, lad sakti hoon. They want to fashion their entire campaign of being women-centric, about women empowerment, and they're positioning it as a woman empathetic campaign versus a woman-hating BJP.
I firstly don't understand how you can, call the BJP a women-hating party. Firstly, I just don't even understand that at all. Having said that, yes, okay, if you're trying to position yourself as a very women-centric party, the thing is, Padmaja, you're not fooling anybody, right? You're making all these claims about how you will distribute 40% of the tickets to women. I don't understand, why are you not making the same announcement, or why are you not doing the same thing in Punjab or in Uttarakhand or in the other election going states, right, where you genuinely are in the fight. If you talk of Punjab, they're in power there. If you talk of Uttarakhand, they're the major opposition there. They're the विपक्षी दल, सबसे बड़ा विपक्षी दल है वो वहाँ के. So the thing is, they do these things, they use these slogans, and they sort of make these policies or whatever, like yojnas they make, knowing that they have lost all ground in Uttar Pradesh, right? So it's just like that same old trick of like महिलाओं को वो हारने वाली सीटें दे दो और कोटा टिक कर दो, right? They know they have nothing to gain here. They literally at this point in a house of 403, they won 7 seats in 2017. So I feel like they're just ticking a box, right? Where they're claiming that, okay, well, हमने 40% महिलाओं को दिया, हम कितने महिला हितैषी हैं. The truth is, you're a national party, right? You can do this in other states. You can do that in other election-going states. You can do it in states where you actually are stronger, or are in a position to actually empower women or empower your candidates. So I don't understand why are they not doing it in Punjab or Uttarakhand or anywhere else?
Okay, finally, let me ask you, what do you see the difference between the party that you have been associated with and the party that you heard of from your grandfather or your father, what the kind of leaders that they associated with?
Funny enough, I was just asked this question. I think the main difference, that I can think of from hearsay, अपने बुजुर्गों से, and from what I see now is just the lack of discipline in the Sangathan and the lack of the leadership knowing what is really going on at the grassroots level. Because when I used to hear tales from my father or my uncles and sort of people from from those times, the leadership back then seemed to be very, very in the know and very, very connected to the grassroots and their grassroots level workers. They knew a lot of their names and they knew them by face, and they just were very well connected at the grassroots level back then. Despite being so powerful and everything, when it came to Raebareli and Amethi, their bastions, they knew a lot more. They had a lot more ground level information than the current leadership does.
Purely as a political observer, in conclusion, if you leave aside the fact that you were in the Congress, that you are in the BJP, in the recent past we've seen a practical exodus, and everyone's poaching, and the Congress is the one that is getting poached the most, whether it be West Bengal, whether it be Goa, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, you name it. As a political observer, do you think that there is a very real possibility that the party which was in government from states to the center for more than half of our independence, our independent history, could soon become a part of history itself and could just be subsumed and gobbled up by other parties?
It looks like it. I mean, it absolutely looks like it. You're completely right. A mass exodus is exactly the way to describe it, is what it is. And it certainly looks like it. They don't seem to be revamping anything. Sonia Gandhi ji is still the Congress president, or the acting Congress president. They still haven't even picked out a party president, despite that having been an interim situation. Is what was made clear at that time. So I don't, if you're not going to make any decisions, if you're not going to change anything, then certainly it's not looking very good for the Congress party at all.
Well, the country definitely needs an opposition party. It's entirely possible there could be a revival, there could be rejuvenation. Every election is a new story altogether. However, at present, the people who seem to be consistently leaving the Congress party do not paint a very positive picture of its future. Let's see what happens. For the time being, though, good luck to you for your future, Aditi Singh, and in your new party. It's going to be a very interesting next few months. Thanks very much for joining us. Thanks very much for joining me on the News Hour Agenda.